Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Claudius Kazan, and in this video we're going to talk about tuplets, and in the tuplets fall triplets, duplets, quadruplets, quintuplets, and so on. We're going to talk about syncopation and syncopated rhythm. We're just going to scratch the surface on syncopation since there's many aspects of it in music. But you'll have a good understanding of what syncopation really is. We're going to go back to the Starer book, and I'm going to perform for you an excerpt from number 6, which was in your homework. And I'm going to assign you 3 more from that book for homework for next time. And I'm going to introduce you to the subject of solfege, which is going to marry basically pitch and rhythm together, and you will be able to perform short musical excerpts either at sight or you can practice, but you'll get a good introduction about solfege and how we name all these pitches in solfege and what solfege is all about and why it's so important. So please stay tuned. Welcome back. Let's talk a little bit about tuplets in music. I was going to talk about triplets last time, and I pushed it aside a little bit because the video was getting a little too long. It was packed with meter information and so on, and I wanted to leave talking about triplets for today. But then I thought it's not only triplets that I'd like to talk about, but tuplets in general. Tuplets are basically a grouping of notes that you try to fit into an odd place, meaning if you're trying to fit 3 notes in the place of 2, for example, or 4 notes in the place of 3, or 2 notes in the place of 3, okay? So it's all dictated by the meter. What kind of a meter do you have? For example, if you have a 2/4 bar, okay? That means that normally I'm subdividing that bar into 2 equal beats, right? The number on top tells me how many beats I should have in that bar. This is what I should have normally, right? 2 quarter notes. Or I could subdivide it naturally into 2 eighth notes, and nobody's going to say anything about that because that's a natural subdivision of the quarter note, right? But then what if I want to divide those beats into 3 equal parts instead of 2, okay? Those are called triplets, by the way, and I have to notate them like this. So I'm still going to notate them with eighth notes, right, because I'm coming from the eighth notes themselves, for which I don't need any figures or anything, but I need to show that with the 3 on top, all right? So here I have 1 bar, okay, with the number 3 on top. What does that mean? That means immediately when I see that 3 in there, that I'm trying to fit 3 notes in the place of 2. Okay? So I have to speed up my playing there just a little bit to be able to fit 3 notes in the place of 2. And that's called a triplet. So let me finish up this bar in here by putting 3 more triplets in there. And at this point, I can draw the bar line because the measure is full, okay? So the way that sounds, let me perform this from the beginning of the line there, okay? Starting with the quarter notes and then the natural subdivision of eighth notes and then going into triplets. So if my tempo goes like this, 1, 2, 1, 2, ta, 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 ta. Pretty simple, right? So for each beat, 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm trying to fit 3 notes now instead of the 2. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, ta, 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 ta. Okay? It's pretty simple. Some of you are going to say, yeah, but can we notate that with a 6/8 and we don't have to put the triplets? Yeah, we can, but we're in 2/4 right now. So in order to notate 3 subdivisions of the beat, I have to switch to a triplet, okay? Because my meter tells me, you're supposed to subdivide that into eighth notes. You have the quarter note in there, okay? Not the eighth note in the bottom. You have the quarter note, so that naturally subdivides into eighth notes, not triplets, Okay? So in order for me to fit 3 equal notes in one beat, I have to show it with the triplet sign. Okay? Conversely, I can do this. Let's say that now we're in 6/8, and we want to fit 2 notes only in the place of 3. Okay, now we have to use a duplet instead of a triplet. And to show that, it's very easy. Again, I'm going to use the 8th notes. Okay? But instead of having 3 of them in there, I'm just going to use 2 with the number 2 on top. Okay? That means that I'm trying to stretch each note a little bit more so that I can only fit 2 of them in the place of 3. Okay? So you see how tuplets really work. I'm trying to fit a number that normally would not fit in that place, you know, either more or less. So I can end my measure in here with another duplet in there. And right now you can see that I can, instead of using 3 subdivisions there, I can use only 2. But I have to show it with the number 2. Okay, now what happens if, for example, I want to, let's go back to 2/4 in here. Changing meter back to 2/4. And I want to, for example, group my first 2 eighth notes in the triplet into one. Okay? You can still use the quarter note because there's 2 eighth notes, and you can have your third note like that. But now, since I'm not using beam notation, I have to use the bracket. There's a bracket in there. I put the bracket in there. So that means that I'm still into a triplet right there. I've just grouped the first 2 of them into 1 eighth note. Now, if I were to fill this bar with this figure, I want you to listen to how it sounds. Okay? So, if my regular triplets would go ta 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 ta. Now, I'm going to group the 2 into 1 for something like this. Ta 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 ta. It's that swing notation, right? A lot of it comes from popular music and stuff. So, this is how you do it. So basically, ta 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 ta. Underneath, I'm thinking ta 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 ta. So it's still a triplet. That's why I have to put the bracket in there with the 3. Okay? So basically, that's what I have to do. In 6/8, I wouldn't have to do this because the 6/8 naturally divides into 3 and 3, right? So if I want to write something like this in 6/8, I don't have to put the triplets in there. I could just do this. All right, look at this. This is how simple it is in 6/8. Ta, 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 okay? But if I want to do that in 2/4, where the beat naturally divides into 2 eighth notes, I have to use the triplet notation, okay? All right, so now you know a little bit about triplets, about duplets, and how we use them and so on. Let's extend this to other tuplets, okay? How about quadruplets? Okay, well, in a 2/4 bar, quadruplets really don't work because the 2/4 bar naturally divides into 4 eighth notes, okay? Or the beat naturally divides into 4, and you get 16th notes. So really, in a 2/4 bar, you're not talking about quadruplets because everything kind of divides naturally in there. But in a 6/8 bar, where we naturally divide the beat into 3, you can see why you can use quadruplets. For example, if you use your, if I use a bar here like this with 3 eighth notes, this is fine. I don't have to put the 3 on top, right? Because you're in a 6/8 already. But what if I want to have 4 notes? And I'm breaking the rule of the stems in here a little bit, but that's fine. You can beam them up or down. And I'm going to do this. Now you can see, oh, okay, you'd like to have 4 notes in the place of 3. Okay, so I need to use a tuplet in there to notate this. And since there are 4, I have to use a quadruplet, which are, you know, number 4 on top in there. Okay, and basically, you know, if this goes tut 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 tut, the beat goes like this. This is my beat. Okay, so performing this with other people, for example, that have a steady 3 going on, can be a little bit of a little bit more difficult, because you have to pretty much keep your own and divide your beat into 4 while somebody else does 3. So you end up with this, what we call a polyrhythm going on. Okay, somebody has a steady 1 2 3 1 2 3, and you have ta 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 ta. You have to go just a little bit faster. Okay, this can be you know, quite interesting when you have somebody doing very straight, you know, 3 in a beat, and now you're asked to do 4 in a beat. Okay, so those are the quadruplets. And then you can have quintuplets. You have to divide it into 5 equal parts. You have sextuplets, when you have to put it in 6 equal parts. Septuplets, 7, octuplets, and so on. Okay, this can be quite interesting, and you use this stuff mostly in material where you want to give the impression to your listeners that music is kind of free-flowing. Okay. Your listeners are not going to know exactly where the beat is. Okay, the performer does, because he's practiced and know exactly where the beat is. But let's say that you freely go from triplets to quadruplets to quintuplets. You know, it's going to sound like your music gradually gets faster and faster and faster, when your beat actually stays very, very steady. Okay, it can be very difficult. This is for more advanced performers, but it's something that composers use to indicate an accelerando, something that accelerates, but they don't want to lose the beat. Okay, maybe the music is coming back to a straight beat in a few measures or something. Beethoven uses that quite a bit, and it's so incredibly effective. Okay, he wants to speed up the music somehow, and he's using transitions from triplets to quadruplets to maybe not quadruplets, but, you know, from triplets to regular 16th notes, but then throws in a quintuplet in there and a sextuplet, and then back and so on. So it really sounds like the music accelerates and decelerates kind of naturally, but the beat stays very steady in there. Okay, so this is another way to use tuplets very, very effectively. Okay. We use tuplets a lot in 2/4 bars and 4/4, especially the triplets, all the time. Okay, and if the music always subdivided into equal parts all the time, it would be quite boring, and it wouldn't be so interesting. People would not. But, you know, once you throw in a triplet here and there, but your beat normally divides into 2, it makes for so much more interesting music, right? And phrasing and so on. So this is how we use tuplets. Again, we're only scratching the surface on tuplets, and I want you guys to, you know, do more research on it if you want. If you're really interested in more about tuplets, you can Google it, and you can read articles about it. And believe me, there's so much on the internet about it, and how it's used in pop music, how it's used in classical music, how certain composers use it. Okay, so if you're really interested in more about tuplets, you can Google it and find out a lot more. But in this class and course, you know, I think this is good enough, and we'll leave it at that for now. Okay, let's go on and talk a little bit about another topic here, and that topic is syncopation. Okay, syncopation is another musical formula. Basically, in music, you have accented and unaccented parts of the beat. Okay, don't think about so much accented and unaccented parts of the measure. Okay, for example, in a 2/4 bar, okay, in a 2/4 bar, you have 2 beats, right? One is more accented than the other. But in syncopation, let's think also beyond that. Think about an accented and unaccented part of the beat. For example, if I divide the beat into 2 eighth notes, right? One of them is going to be accented, the other one is going to be unaccented. Okay? And what happens in syncopation, we're actually performing a trick in here. We're going to take, for example, the unaccented part, okay, and we're transferring an accent to it. Okay? So your beat, your off beat, we call those off beats, the unaccented part of the beat, we call it an off beat. Okay? On beat means the accented part, and off beat, it's the unaccented part. But what we're doing is we're actually transferring an accent now in a place where it shouldn't be naturally. Okay? So basically, if I do something like this, okay, let me erase this little stuff that but basically if I do something like this in a 2/4 bar, I'm taking my regular subdivision of 2/8 notes, and I am tying those two notes together. Okay? So basically, if this is my beat, ta, 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 the way to perform this is ta, 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 ta. I gave you a string of two of them, but what if I keep doing it? Ta, 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 ta. You can see how the accent that's normally here, okay, gets now transferred to this note, and I'm actually accenting that note, ta, 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 and I'm taking the accent away from this part of the beat. Well, I don't even perform that part of the beat because I have tied it together. Okay, so basically a syncopation is the transfer of an accent to a part of the beat or the measure where normally there shouldn't be an accent. Okay? And this has many, many, many implications. Okay? This is just a very general definition of what the syncopation is. One other example of a syncopation would be something like this. And you say, well, but that has nothing to do with what you just did in the first bar. Look what I'm doing. I'm putting actually a rest in the accented part of the beat, and I'm coming in with a note on the unaccented part of the beat. So basically, it sounds like this. Pa, 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 pa. The beat goes tum, 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 tum. Pa, 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 pa. That's called a backbeat. Popular music does this all the time. It's full of backbeats like that. So basically, the downbeat goes, but you don't hear it much. All you hear is the backbeat, the unaccented part of the beat that now we're making it very obvious and we accent it, okay? That still falls into the category of syncopation. You can syncopate things over the bar line too. Let me erase in here some of this stuff, and I'll show you exactly how you can syncopate over the beat. For example, I'm going to stick with my 2/4 in here because it's easy to understand. But what if I have something like this? Okay, beat, and I'm tying things here over the beat, over the bar line, I'm sorry. Okay, something like this, it's considered a syncopation. Ta, 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 ta. Okay, so because I'm transferring the accents from the unaccented part here to these unaccented parts in here, I'm talking about a syncopation. Okay, the guys helping me wanted me to show my face on this camera as well. So, I'm not ignoring this camera, but my notes are on this camera, so I'm looking more at this camera. Anyway, now let's go back to syncopation. So again, syncopation, it's a very broad topic. It's used all over the place. Okay, classical composers, even Baroque composers, have used syncopation very, very effectively. And I'm going to show you another way to syncopate things. Let's say we're in 4/4 this time. And let's start with something like this. Okay? Actually, let's do this. Okay? Now, you're going to say, whoa, that's a weird notation for that. It does add up to 4/4 in there, okay? But look what I'm doing in here. I am notating like this, something that I should normally notate like this. Why? Because it's so much easier to notate. And musicians understand this very, very well. Okay? This is what I should notate this. But instead of breaking the beat into equal parts and showing what's tied and what's not tied, and it might be clear on the second measure exactly what I'm doing, but the first notation, it's also quite clear. Basically, you just show, instead of the tied eighth notes in there, you put a quarter note. Okay? And that, to a musician, signals immediately, oh, you're going to the next beat with that F, F, F in there. Okay? Ta, 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 ta. So this is how you perform this. Beating in 4, it goes like this. Ta, 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 ta. I'll do it again. Ta, 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 ta. Okay? The syncopation right there happens because I'm tying an accented part of the beat into an unaccented part of the beat and transferring the accent from here, I'm transferring it here on the unaccented part of the beat. Okay? If this feels a little more difficult for you guys right now, always come back to this video. This is video number 6, so syncopation, remember, it's video number 6. As you become more proficient with reading music and understanding more and more about this, and you want to revisit syncopation, it's right in here. Also, remember, you can ask me more questions on the bottom. Just remember one thing about syncopation, and again, it's a very broad topic. We're transferring the accent from an accented part of the beat to an unaccented part of the beat. Okay? And we're masking properly where the beat should actually be, the accented part, by transferring that accent away and accenting another part of the beat that normally you wouldn't. Okay? So that's why, people talk about syncopated rhythms. Well, it could be that backbeat that I was talking about. Pa, 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 pa. Okay? Normally you put it on a second eighth note that shouldn't be accented. But now you're putting the accent right where it shouldn't be. So that means it's syncopated. Or you can do it with ties, like I did it in here. You can tie an unaccented part of the beat to an accented part of the beat, but you're transferring that accent from the accented to the unaccented. So now you're accenting a part of the beat that normally would not get accented. Okay? So that's in general what syncopation is. Now you guys know a little bit about syncopation as well. Okay? Again, there's a lot of material on the internet about this. If you want to know more about syncopation, how it's used in different periods of time, how it's used in different genres like, pop versus classical, there's a lot of examples in there. It could be a little overwhelming because somebody's trying to put in all the information that's out there about syncopation. But if you just stick with the basics that I've told you today, you should be good. Okay? So this is all there is for now about syncopation. All right, let's go back and talk about the Starer book. Okay? The Starer exercises in here. Last time I assigned you exercise number 4, 5, and 6. Okay? And these are very basic exercises. The number 4 from chapter 1 deals with the 2/4 bar. So basically you have 2 beats up and down. And last time I performed for you the last 3 lines from number 4. And this time what I'd like to do is perform the last 3 lines from number 6. Okay? Number 6 has a meter 4/4. Okay? And let me go get my metronome. And metronome we set at 90. Remember, we put the metronome at 90. Let's see. Let's put our metronome at 90. Okay, and put the volume up, and I'll let you hear again how the metronome sounds. Okay, so 4 beats for nothing, and I'm going to perform the last 3 lines from number 6 from the Starer book, conducting on the 4/4 formula, right? 1, 2, 3, let's go. Ta, 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 ta. All right, so if you guys came up to the same performance that I did, that means that you've done your homework quite well. Remember, you have to be very exact. Listen to the metronome, but don't look at it. Conduct and be very exact with where your beats are and how much you're holding these notes. Okay? Notice one thing at the very, very end. I went ta. Okay, so you're going to say, well, you held it for 5 beats. No, I did not. I held it for exactly 4 beats. The note came off right before I had to play the 5th beat, which is, again, a downbeat. Okay? But I had to actually hold the notes. You know, that last beat goes from 4 to 5. That's why sometimes you say, oh, okay, you know, you didn't hold it for 5, you held it for exactly 4, but 4 comes off exactly right before 5. That's why it felt like I'm almost going to say 5. Ta. Okay? So that's just one little thing that a lot of people miss when they do these exercises, to hold the notes properly through their entire value to the end, almost until you're ready to start the following beat. Okay? That's great. Let's talk about the number 7, 8, and 9 from the Starer book, which is your assignment for next time. Okay? If you look at the meter for 7, 8, and 9, Mr. Starer uses 5/4. That means that there's 5 quarter notes in each bar. Okay? And look what he does kind of nicely in there. He uses a fake bar line. The dotted bar line in there, it's not a bar line per se, it just shows you exactly how you should think about 5/4 as being subdivided into a bar of 3/4 and 2, or a bar of 2 and 3. Okay? So you can see that the first measure in number 7, it's subdivided into a bar of 3 and a bar of 2. Now, if you look at his conducting in there, okay, he shows you right there that you should basically use the first one at 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is how you are to conduct the number 7. The number 8 is the opposite. It's based on the 2 and then 3. So basically what you do is go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay? They all add up to 5. Now, on the number 9, what he does is he goes back and forth between these subdivisions in here. That's why you'll see the first bar is divided into 2 and 3, but the second one is subdivided into 3 and 2. Okay? And you have to change your conducting as well, which makes it brings it another level of difficulty in here. Okay? So get used to changing the conducting in here to reflect the proper subdivision of each measure in there. So for that dotted bar line there comes in really, really handy. Okay? Next time what I'll do is I'll perform the end of number 9 for you guys, just to give you the assurance that you've done the right thing. Again, please practice these. These are not the ones that you're going to do at sight, and if you don't do them well, you just leave them the way they are. Now, of course, you're not going to do well the first time, and believe me, I didn't do very well the first time either, but then I practiced. Okay? And the more you practice, the more you can read at sight, and you can read a little bit ahead and see exactly how is he subdividing this measure so I can adjust my conducting. It's not going to be easy. Okay? Slow it down. Don't do it at 90. Do it at 60 or even slower. But then if you go too slow, then you're going to lose the beat. So stay at a slow tempo, but still something where you can anticipate what the beat is going to be. Okay? So, and again, work in small sections, maybe 2 lines at a time, and really master those before you go on to the next 2. Okay? So master 2, go to the next 2, and so on, and then add them all together into a beautiful performance from the beginning to the end. Okay? Now, if you do this every day for, let's say, 10, 15 minutes, really that's going to show so much improvement over the course of the week, okay? Or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. The beauty of this course is that you can take your time, you don't have to rush through it, and you can improve at your own pace, okay? So number 7, 8, and 9 for next time for you guys, okay, from the Starer book. Look very carefully at the conducting and how he's subdividing this 5/4 into either groups of 3/2 or 2 and 3. Okay, great. So this is the stuff from the rhythmic training, Robert Starer. What I'd like to do next is to talk a little bit about introduction to solfege. Okay, what is solfege, and why do we need solfege? Now, this is a very old system. It comes basically from from the Middle Ages. Not that it was developed completely at that time, but it got improved and so on. But basically, they thought, wouldn't it be nice to assign syllables to all these notes and be able to sing them? Okay, where there's no syllables. For example, I can take instrumental music and I can solfege it. Why? Because I'm going to assign certain note names to all the notes that I see on the page. Okay? And that came in really, really handy for learning how to sight read. Okay? You can take instrumental music. That's not too difficult and so on. You need to be able to sing it. And the human voice has limitations. An instrument can jump quickly from one note to the other. For a human to do that, it might be a little more difficult. Also, with the instrument, you can play faster notes much quicker. On the, with the human voice, you have to sound every note and so on, so it becomes a little more difficult. But basically what happens here, we assign syllables to the notes, the 7 notes on the octave. And I showed you that on my second video, I believe, about the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Okay, we call it T in the United States, so we don't confusing with the C, the letter C, from the ABC system that's used in the English-speaking countries. Okay, but that's okay. We can use T. I don't mind. In the country where I come from, we always call it C, as in SI. Okay, so now we're going to call them do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Okay, so basically it starts with the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Now, you have to know this backwards too. So when you practice your 7 pitches here from do to do, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, do it backwards too. Do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. And do it over and over again so you can kind of be able to recite this as a poem. Okay, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, do, si, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. See, I can do it really quickly because I've learned it since I was a kid. Okay, what you can also do to speed up your learning process here, go like 3 notes up, 3 notes down. Do, re, mi, that backwards. Mi, re, do. Now start from re. Re, mi, fa, and backwards. Fa, mi, re. Start at mi now. Mi, fa, sol, sol, fa, mi. Okay? It's easier to group 3 notes and remember them backwards as well. And then starting on fa, starting on sol, and la, and so on. Okay? And then try to do them in one big performance, like do, re, mi, re, do, re, mi, fa, mi, fa, sol, sol, fa, mi. Okay, now if I were to write this down on my pad here, you would have to do something like this. Oh, sorry, let's get a pen in here. And you would have to do something like this. Do, re, mi, and then go back, mi, re, do. Remember that middle C that we talked about in the second video? That's where do is, okay? So that's your do, and then you have your re and your mi, and then this is mi again, right? And then back to re, and then do, okay? So this is, by the way, that note is right on the line there, okay? So, and the next would be starting on a re. Re, mi, the new note is fa, right? And then fa, mi, re. Okay, so this starts on re, mi, fa, and then fa again, mi, and re. And then start on mi. And the new note is going to be your sol, right there. Okay? Now, if you do this enough, you're going to be able to name these notes immediately. You won't need to think too much. So you really have to memorize them. And the more you use them, the more you memorize them, and it's going to become second nature for you. Okay? So these are, this is how we do solfege. We assign note names to all these notes on the staff. And I would want you guys to actually sing them with the keyboard first, so you have the right pitch in there. Okay? You can actually listen to the notes before you start singing them, and then start to sing them with the keyboard. Do, re, mi, re, do. Okay? Then what I would do when you're done with all this, you've gone all the way up to C, then try to do them without the keyboard. See if you remember those pitches and pick them up from the air instead of using the keyboard to guide you. Do, re, mi, re, do, re, mi, fa, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi. And it's fine if occasionally you check on yourself. Saying, oh, okay, I was on pitch. Okay? So this is important. Do them with the keyboard, okay? And then try to do them without the keyboard and see how accurate your pitch has remained throughout this. If you're not able to do it quite yet, keep doing it with the keyboard a lot. So you get the notes in your head a lot, okay? When we were kids, I had a really good theory teacher, and kudos to him for doing this with us. He would put all 30 of us kids, 6, 7 years old, into a classroom. And he would come into the classroom, say hello to everybody, go to the piano, and play La, which is that A440 that I talked about in the second video, right? And everybody knew La. La was so ingrained in our brains that everybody started singing La, all the kids. And we knew exactly what he was going with this. He started playing pitches in the middle octave of the keyboard. Okay, a little slower than that. But we had to identify all those pitches, not looking at his keyboard. Okay? And after doing all these do, re, mi's with him, mi, re, do's, re, mi, fa, mi, re, we knew exactly what these pitches were and how they sounded. So if you gave us the reference pitch, not everybody had perfect pitch to be able to pick A from the clouds like that. And then you play this. Everybody know. Re, sol, do, mi, fa, re, si, sol, do, and so on. Okay? Those notes always sound the same. So this is very, very important. Those names, if you have them ingrained in your brain, they never change. And that's the beauty of the system. Okay? You remember these pitches by listening to them thousands of times, and they'll go into your brain. So if somebody gives you a La or an A, we'll call it La. Let's call it La because we're in solfege right now. And somebody goes there and gives you this. Okay? Your brain does a calculation immediately, says, da, 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 La, Sol, Fa. Remember, you have to know solfege to go a little bit through these pitches. La, Sol, Fa, Fa. So immediately you know, okay, that's a Fa. Okay? And then, da, 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 Fa, Mi, Re, Do, Do. How about this? Da, 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 dum, Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, Sol. Okay, Sol. Da, da, dum, Sol, La, Si. All right? So you can start naming these pitches just by listening to this and doing that quick calculation in your... After a while, it becomes so quick that you really, your brain's going to skip all that calculating. It's going to go exactly to the pitch where you want. Now, mind you, not everybody is able to do this, very, very soon or quickly. So what you need to do is you need to go through the pitches like I showed you in between. Okay? So give you a La. Da, 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 ba, da, da. So if this is La, La, so Fa, okay? You have to calculate and go through your scale, okay? We'll talk a lot more about scales when we get to scales, okay? But, the C scale everybody kind of knows and kind of has it in the blood already. Okay, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Okay? So you have to go through each scale point like that and sound your notes and stop at the one that you're asked to name. Okay? If you know your solfege forwards and backwards, you'll be able to do it very, very easily. Okay? So this is important for your ear training. Ear training is so important. I told you in the beginning, I want you guys to not only know the theoretic stuff in here, because that's easy for me to teach, it's just theory. But if I could put some ear training into you by have you listening and doing all this homework from Robert Starer and Solfege, that would be a complete course, not just in music theory, but also in ear training. And you need both to really be a good musician, okay? So get yourself feet wet with solfege. I have 2 exercises in solfege that I want you to start doing, and request it below from the classical music theory guy at gmail.com. Okay, you can request them from there, and I will send you the 2 PDFs with the 2 solfege exercises that I've created for you guys. In there, what you'll see is some basic solfege with different rhythms and stuff. It doesn't go beyond G, so it stays within do, re, mi, fa, sol, those 5 pitches only. Okay, but there's rhythm in there, there's rests, there's all kinds of stuff. You should be able to put the metronome at anywhere between 60 and 90 and be able to conduct, okay, because they're in 4/4 or 2/4 or something, and conduct, sing, and you can do it with a keyboard first, and then you can do it on your own without the help of the keyboard. Okay, now for some of you this is going to be a daunting task. Oh my goodness, this is already, he's throwing us at the deep end here with all these solfege stuff and everything. You know, my idea is this: if you guys do not go in at the deep end and be forced to learn, you will never learn. Okay? So do not go farther in this course unless you master those 2 solfege exercises that I'm giving you. Okay? And ask questions. You know, don't just put it off and say, oh, it's too difficult. How am I going to do this? Okay? First of all, you have to have a good sense of rhythm, so turn on your metronome. Okay? Go through the rhythm part first before you do pitches. Then put your pitches on. You don't have to do the rhythm. Okay? Just sound the pitches that you see in there on your keyboard and be able to sing them with the right syllables. I would like you not to have to put the syllables under the notes, but you can do it in pencil and then erase them. Okay? Just until you actually learn the pitches, you can pencil them down there. But then, you know, try to erase them and see if you can still follow the pitches without looking at the description under there, and see if you can name the pitches just from where they are. Eventually, what I'd like you to do is to look at the note on the page and be able to tell me exactly what the name is. Okay? And quickly, not after, you know, you have time to think. It should be almost instantaneous and automatic. Okay? So this is how we do solfege, basically. So now you have the tablet in here, do, re, mi, re, do, re, mi, fa, mi, re. You can go all the way up to sol. Let's continue this in here. So this would be mi, fa, sol, and then sol, fa, mi. Okay? Sol, fa, mi. Okay? Now, let's continue this like that. Okay, there you go. All right. Your exercises in solfege for next time, I don't think they go beyond sol. But if you do, you can go to la and so on. Okay? And also know your C scale up and down in solfege. Again, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Knowing it backwards is going to come in so easy when you have to do these backwards portions of the exercise, when you have to go down the scale instead of up. So again, you can put pencil the names in there of the notes, but eventually I want you to be able to do it without anything underneath. That's you know for sure that you know solfege at that point when you don't use these little crutches here and there to remind you what the notes are. Okay, be very, very exact with your pitch, okay? Don't settle for anything less than very accurate pitch. That's why I want you to use the keyboard in the beginning to sound all these notes. Work on your rhythm first. So your rhythm, it's great. Work on your pitch, and then try to really put the two of them together, okay? Next time I will perform something from the solfege exercises, okay, that I'm going to give to you guys. So make sure that you understand that. Ask me questions down below if you don't. And I will perform these for you next time, just to make sure that you guys have done the right thing, and we can compare notes together on that. Well, this is all I have really for this video. It's a lot. We talked about tuplets, right? We talked about tuplets and syncopation. We basically just scratched the surface on tuplets and syncopation. Nothing too deep. Again, if you're more interested about the subject, please go online and research it. But I think for our discussion of basic music notation right now, this was plenty enough. I assigned you 3 more exercises from the Starer book, those in meter 5/4, complex meter 5/4, and I made you aware of that fake bar line that shows you exactly how to conduct and how to subdivide the bar into either 3 and 2 or 2 and 3. So that's going to come important when you start conducting those exercises. And I introduced also to the concept of solfege and how we assign names to notes, basically in the middle octave. If you think about them in the middle octave, this is where you should play, and so on. Starting with do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and know your solfege backwards. Do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do as well, okay? And I showed you on the tablet a little exercise that would let you memorize these notes, going up to the mi, do, re, mi, then coming back mi, re, do. Now start on re, re, mi, go to fa, and then backwards fa, mi, re, and then mi, fa, sol, sol, fa, mi. You can extend it all the way to the top do here if you want, but for the exercises that I'm going to ask you to do for next time, I think going up to sol will be fine. If there's a la in there, that's fine, but you'll be able to figure it out yourself. Again, practice makes perfect, or almost perfect, okay? Practice, practice, practice. The more you do, the better you get, and you're going to thank me about this later, okay? So put at least about 15, 20 minutes of practice of this every day if you're serious about learning how to read music and how to write music. Solfege is a great system to do that, and I highly recommend it. It's used in all conservatories. I'm not sure about colleges that only have music departments. It also depends on the teachers. If the teachers are very versed with solfege, they will use it because they know its value, okay? And I haven't found any good teachers that do not recommend solfege. They really do, and I grew up with it, so I can see immediately its value, and I think it's valuable for you guys. Just put a little bit of effort into learning it in the beginning, and you'll be just great, okay? Very good. We talked about the homework and so on. In my next video, of course, we're going to do more exercises from the Starer book. That's going to stay with us for a long time until I feel that you guys have enough for this course, okay? So more Starer book exercises and more exercises in solfege, okay? I'm going to add exercises. They're a little more difficult and a little more difficult. And I want you guys to give me feedback on how you think you're doing with the solfege, okay? We're probably going to talk about dynamics next time, something that we haven't touched upon. From pianissimo all the way to fortissimo. What does that mean? Loudness in music and so on. And also, how do we notate if the music speeds up and slows down, or the tempo markings and tempo practices and so on. Okay, we'll also talk about crescendos and decrescendos, diminuendos, and so on that have to do with the dynamics. Okay, we're going to talk about tempo in general. You already have the concept of meter, which is great. You know how to subdivide music into measures, and so how to conduct, which is important. But how do we pick the right tempo? Okay, in the beginning, what if the tempo changes? Okay, and there's all kinds of indications of tempo change and stuff. We'll find out about that on my next video. Until then, guys, I want you to stay healthy. I want you to stay safe. And I will see you on the next video. Thank you so much.